Welcome back. It's time for another Chit Chat, and this is episode 120. Nice round number.
Woo. Yeah.
It's Emily, Ryan, and me this week, and we've got some stuff to talk about. If you saw the thumbnail, we're going to be talking about the cost of legacy games. And by that, we don't just mean how much money you're spending, although we will talk a little bit about how much money you're spending, but also time and all the different costs of playing a big game like that. And then we're going to play, a little player versus player. Ryan's the game master this week, and then of course we'll finish things off by talking about the games we've been playing. So, who wants to tackle this first? We're bringing this legacy topic up, by the way, because they just announced a recent.
Well, that's what I wanted to say. The reason we even had this conversation, and it's funny. This is hilarious to me.
We're talking about Emily.
We're talking about Ticket to Ride Legacy, and there are a lot of people balking right now because they just announced the price, which is $120. And we are on episode 120, which is
why. Oh my God!
And it doesn't cost you a thing to watch this.
So I think that is what we came to, amongst ourselves was like that was a good topic because a lot of people out there are balking. A lot of people see that price tag, $120 for Ticket to Ride. That is quite a bit of money.
Yeah.
That's, of course, we're talking about just the financial side of the cost, but. I mean, what do you guys think about that price? Is that a price you're willing to spend for that experience?
I think it's hard. When I hear the price, I feel the same way where I'm like, I don't know, that seems like a lot for Ticket to Ride. Because to me, in my head, Ticket to Ride is that game that I played with my family. We played more growing up a bit. And it's like easy to get to the table. I'm like, $120 doesn't sound like easy to get to the table. Not that I won't pay $120 for a game, which is where then it comes back, right? Because then I'm like, but you do pay $120 for games that you probably get to the table less often. So like, why wouldn't you pay that for a game that you thought you could get to the table? It's hard there.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from. I do think the big disconnect with most people who are saying, like having that immediate sticker shock is that they associate Ticket to Ride with that sort of level of experience. It's also a game for enthusiast games that I think is obviously a little long in the tooth. It's not exactly something everyone's like, oh, I'm dying to play another game of Ticket to Ride this weekend. So you look at that and you look at a high price point and you're not thinking immediately like, well, what are they doing with the game to make it worthwhile? Right. And of course they're doing the things that they should be doing. It's the team behind Pandemic Legacy. They've got a heck of a design team behind this. So they're inevitably going to put together a really robust game. It's just when you attach it to that IP, it has that sort of like, no pun intended, legacy of being this, light gateway game.
Yeah. I mean, we had a similar experience. We played through Betrayal at the House on the Hill Legacy, which is a game that also has a pretty high price point for what you're getting out of it. And I think people balked as well at that because, again, that's a game, like you just said, I'm not, chomping at the bit to play more Betrayal, at the House on the Hill. Like, whatever. That's a game I played a lot earlier, and I've kind of let it go. It's got some mechanic, whatever. It's got some things. But playing that Legacy version was so much fun.
That's so interesting because I think Betrayal is different for me, where Betrayal also, when you play just the regular game, you could play it a lot because the scenarios are all so different, right?
Well, that is true.
So it almost has like this element of like it's something new each time. But also, I was excited for the Legacy game because when I had played a regular game of Betrayal, I was like, I want to see what it would be like if this had something lasting. If it had something where like we had this cool storyline and then it affected the house or something happened. So when they said there was Legacy, I was like, oh, actually, that's really cool. Like,
well, it did turn out to be very cool. It was still one of the best Legacy experiences I've ever had playing that game. And it's tough. That set a benchmark that was tough to live up to. Pandemic Legacy set a benchmark that was tough to live up to. But all these Legacy games are running in that price point. I mean, it's hard to find a Legacy game, except maybe Charterstone, I think, was probably more.
Or My City, which is technically a Legacy game. And I think that's what, when people think Ticket to Ride, they think, oh, it's going to be a nice little game, light Legacy, maybe like entry-level Legacy like My City for $50-$60.
Well, and I think
something like that. But you have to remember, Ticket to Ride itself is probably what?
$60.
Yeah.
It's quite a bit. So it's kind of an interesting thing. There are few of those games. But yeah, you're right. Most games are in that higher price point because they have to come with so much stuff.
Well, and you were just talking about it too last time. Machikoro has a Legacy game
as well. Did you look that up?
I did. It has a similar price point to My City. So it's not the $120.
Oh, really?
No,
So,
it's not.
I
And there's
think
a lot of content there too.
I think, again, it feels like it would be in that same weight category, right? In that same, like, oh, it should be like right around there, right? A few family-friendly games. And so for it to be instead like the Betrayal at the House on the Hill or like Pandemic Legacy, you're like, wow, that's quite a bit more.
I mean, it is. And it's tough for me because, like, yeah, it's a high price, but we've spent $200 on all-in Kickstarter pledges.
Yeah.
You've spent all in, $200 on all-in Kickstarter
I mean,
pledges.
some.
But it's difficult when you think, and I know this, I have my own argument, but it's difficult because I think people say, yeah, but I can play those games forever. In 20 years, I can still be playing Joan of Arc or my, well, I think that's the mentality that some people have is
That's
like,
the argument.
when you're done with a legacy game, you just throw it in the trash, which you shouldn't do. But like, I think that's the kind of what people are approaching it like. You don't get something that you're going to have to play with your kids and grandkids or whatever.
I've never bought into the, I've heard a lot of people say, well, once it's done, you can't play it anymore. You're like, it seems like a waste. I mean, there's a lot to say. We can unpack this in a whole other episode, but like the amount, it depends on how long you get to play it and the amount of money you spent. When you start comparing that to other things like going to the movies and other entertainment, it's probably actually pretty good bang for your buck. Particularly, like you said, if you go in together with a group of people to get it.
Well, yeah,
that's a lot of gaming fun experience for the money.
I don't think anybody should be buying this for that, unless you're like that person that's like, oh, I want to give this gift to my gaming group and bring that legacy game. Like, if I'm going to invite people to a movie, I'm not buying everyone's tickets necessarily, right? So I think if you have that idea, if you bring to your gaming group, yeah, I really want to play this with you all, but like it's going to be $30 a person. When you break it down that way,
Well,
$30
that's really reasonable then.
right, $30
I mean,
a
especially
person.
if you put the price all on them and you don't pay for any of it yourself.
There's
It's
a processing
$50.
fee.
I'm sorry, it's
like-
$50
$50 a person, the 5 of you, and I'll take what's left over.
No, yeah, I don't even know if it plays 4 or 5 players, but like if it plays 5, it's even cheaper. And like if you can get a dedicated group, because it does require it. It really does require you to play with the
Yes.
same group of people, which is another cost that maybe some people
I was
aren't
gonna
willing to
say.
do. But if you have that group, it doesn't make sense that one person at the table should have to shoulder that entire burden. Again, every table is going to be different.
Sure.
There might always, you might be that person that always provides the game for the gaming group, but like it doesn't hurt to ask them to chip in.
No.
Like when you break down $30 for 12 games, each game being an hour too long, you're right. That value is, I mean, that's pretty small.
Yeah, and I want to talk about the cost that you hit in there, right? Where it was the cost of getting a group together consistently for how many hours that you're playing it. So, I mean, this happened all the time whenever you try to play like Dungeons and Dragons, right? You're like trying to get them consistently on a night. And it happens with legacy games too, where you're like, yeah, it sounds super cool in theory, but could I actually get these 3 other people to meet me every night on the same time, like to play this game? Or is it just going to be something we paid $120 for, played twice, and that was it?
That's a good point. See, we were lucky because we played Betrayal Legacy during the pandemic, and we
Yes,
were in a bubble.
which was a perfect time.
We
'cause
played
you
with
couldn't
our
do anything
bubble,
else.
and nobody had anything to do.
Yes.
Nobody had any excuses of anything that was conflicting. So we actually got to play through that in a couple months, meeting pretty regularly. But yeah, these days, it's tough.
Yeah.
Unless you already have a regular gaming group of people that meet every night. But the thing about, like, we had a Tuesday night group, and it's like if somebody doesn't show up, no big deal.
Yeah.
But if you're planning on playing your legacy game and they don't
It
show
is a
up,
big deal.
that is a big deal.
Yeah, if only, and I know some of them have been designed this way where people can kind of drop in and drop out.
I hate it.
But
I
it's
hate it.
not.
Really?
It's not frequent. I mean, it's
Yeah.
a wise way to do it.
It is a wise way to do it, but I hate, like, if I can't make it and they're like, okay, well, we'll just use the rules for you to sit out this one. Then I come back and we're in a whole different thing. I'm like, what did I miss? I missed so much.
Well, that's on you, my friend.
Well, sure. I mean, and it
That's
does.
incentive to come back the next
I
time.
think you should prioritize, but life happens. I mean, there's things that happen
Sure.
that are completely out of your control, and it's, it would suck to miss a significant part of the game when it's like, something important or
I think
an
it's a high
emergency.
cost, high reward, right? Because once you've gone through it, like as a group, you're like, wow, we did this whole thing
Yeah.
together, right? You've spent so much time, you've done this whole quest, like you get this narrative story typically coming together. And then if you're dropping in and out, I don't know that it would feel the same way, right?
Right.
Especially
Right.
if it is.
Well, yeah, but Betrayal
has
lets you drop
narrative.
in and out. Like, you could have other people come in and there's extra houses and stuff, but that sense, like, the culmination of playing that had so much payoff for
Sure.
our group. Like, I wouldn't have wanted it any other way.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so what do you think about the cost of legacy games? Both the dollar amount, the cost of time, like we've talked about, also just organization, which I think is what
Yes.
you started to tap in on, is like, that shouldn't be ignored. Like
Yes.
the idea of like, particularly if you're, say you are the one who invested in the game for the group and you didn't have a group all pay. You got the game, you got people together, and then you're having a hard time herding all the cats to get over to you. Then
you'd feel like you wasted your money for sure.
Money and your time and just a lot of like headspace trying to
a lot of effort, energy, stress, all
So
that
let
stuff.
us know what you think about all of that and legacy games in general, whatever legacy games you've been playing. But next, we've got a game, and it's called?
It's called Lost in Translation. So we'll be right back with Player versus Player. All right, welcome back. Like I said, I'm calling this game Lost in Translation. In this game, I have taken to BGG and found the descriptions for some popular, relevant games, and I've run them through language translators across 10 different languages and then back into English. What you get is a description that kind of maybe feels like what the original description was trying to be.
But not entirely at all.
But definitely not entirely at all. And the goal is to see if you can guess what the game originally was.
Okay, and are we going to alternate?
We'll alternate. I have one I wanted to use as an example.
Okay.
Because I think this one's pretty easy. So this is...
Oh, God.
Okay. Well,
So this is the limited test. We'll see how people get this one. This is how the translator came back into English. All kinds of deadly diseases spread throughout the world. Players can explore endemic areas, explore resources in 4 regions, and fight sickness before they manually escape.
Is this buzzer working?
You know the answer to this one?
I'm going to say pandemic.
It is pandemic. So I thought that one was...
I think she had it too.
Yes.
I thought that one was a pretty easy layup and kind of gives you a taste for like what they're going to be like. So it's kind of, you can kind of tell it was pandemic, but it was very
Are
different.
you setting us up to be overconfident? Because
I'm
that
not.
one was pretty easy.
I'm very worried because I feel like some of these, I don't know if I would get it in English because sometimes these descriptions aren't great. So I'm hoping the translation helps.
And I am going to say they will progress in difficulty. So I got a couple easy ones and some medium ones. So we'll see who can score the most points.
Okay, well,
I'll go first.
Emily will go first.
Emily will go
Some easy
first?
points.
Okay. Emily, in this board game, 2 to 5 players travel a large map, carrying out special missions, making choices, and fighting beasts and witches to protect the Academy's honor. Struggle.
Struggle?
Struggle's just the last
Here's
word.
the last word.
I don't know. We said a large map and a head ticket to ride on the mind. I was like,
Yes.
this is it. He's going to say something about trains. And then you did it.
There are witches and tickets
No,
right
there's
too,
not.
and beasts.
No, and so I honestly, I don't know. Witches, I have no idea. I'm going to pass.
David,
Gonna
do you know?
pass. I'm going to say The Witcher Old World.
It is. I don't know. Somehow, somewhere, Witcher got translated into witches.
Well,
somewhere along the line.
witches helped, and then what was it to the
The
Academy?
beast and the protecting your Academy's honor.
The
I
word
see.
struggle at the end, I think, was the seal.
I don't know
seal
where
of
that
the
came.
deal.
So that's 1 point for David. Pop
All
that
right.
up on the little ticker.
Woo.
All right, so then we'll go back to Emily.
Yes.
Since you got a point,
We'll
so
get, we'll do
let's
it
go
that
back to
way.
Emily.
We'll do it that way.
Give her a chance here.
Oh, God.
An open world builder
Okay.
for 1 to 5 players with simple rules. But there are many strategic options. Each game, with its encyclopedic nature and unique cards and combinations, will allow you to discover interactions and connections, just as a big and exciting world opens up before us.
What?
Encyclopedic nature?
What? Oh, wow.
I have to. I keep
World
thinking books
building?
of time because I hear the encyclopedic, but I don't know if that makes sense with any of the rest of it. But that's gonna be my guess.
It is not Books of Time.
Oh my gosh, this
David,
one's
do you have a
tough.
steal?
I'm going to say. I'm going to say randomly, Arc Nova.
It's
Arc-
not. It's actually Earth.
What?
Oh,
Read
It's
it again.
actually Earth.
Read it again.
An open world builder for 1 to 5 players with simple rules, many strategic options.
That's true.
Each game with its encyclopedic nature and unique cards and combinations will allow you to discover new interactions and connections, just as the big and exciting world opens up before us.
I mean, that is literally true. All of that is true.
And that last line actually maintained
As the world opens
pretty
up before
attacked.
you.
Yeah.
But then it says struggle.
Struggle.
All right.
the end
There was
of
So,
something about plants. I needed
oh,
plants.
the
in
nature
there.
was in there.
Yeah, but it.
The
But it's the
description.
nature of the game made it seem like.
All right. Well, let's
feel like a
let's
failure
go on
now.
to the next one, David. This is for you.
Okay.
A simple and beautiful game that allows you to learn to fold tickets in 15 minutes. The longer the steps, the more wear. Whoever creates a destination, a map connecting distant cities, gets more points, and the player who creates the longest continuous quest.
Ticket to Ride?
It is Ticket to Ride.
All right.
Maybe that
There's
one was
keywords.
easier.
I'm finding that there's keywords.
What were the keywords?
Well, he said ticket in there.
I did
Folding tickets.
Folding
which I
tickets.
don't
That's
understand.
exactly. It's an origami game.
Don't fold the tickets in Ticket to Ride, anybody. Unless it's the Legacy. Maybe they have that in the
That's
Legacy
what you
game.
think.
Who knows?
All right, so that's 2 points for David so far.
Can Emily even win?
Let's
I
get
can't
back.
win.
Let's see
I
if she
lost
can.
Earth. I can't win.
I mean, that is
Personally,
true. You've
this
lost
is already.
already.
A loss.
Emily's
I
lost
can't
already.
anymore.
You can
This is
get
the
2
dignity
points. There's
of
2
the
left.
Her,
You can
her
get both
Earth
of
badge
them.
revoked.
All right. Explore a huge travel company and lead the gold hunters as an immortal company corporation in this multiplayer game. Map as you play to create custom battles based on your region. Rooms and spaces are changing. Be ready, be brave, and be ready.
And above all, be ready.
So it's a dungeon crawler, right?
Oh, I don't know. I have no idea.
That's what I got from it. I got from it had to be a dungeon crawler. But I also think that maybe it's Clank? That's going to
Is
be
that
my
your
guess.
final
That's my
answer?
final answer.
That doesn't
It is
feel...
Clank.
Oh, my God.
It is
wow.
Clank.
God.
I was like, oh, this is not right because the way he's reacting to it.
No, it is. I just was.
Good
I
call.
wasn't sure she was going to get
Ooh,
there.
Yeah.
Wow. I would never have gotten there. You know
Be
what?
ready.
As he read words, Grand Austria Hotel even popped into my mind during
I
that.
can see
Really?
that.
I
can
guess
see
I
that.
could say
Closing
rooms
rooms
and
and stuff.
spaces.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of that was referring to like the deck building aspect of Clank.
What's crazy about these is every next line is like, you're like, okay, what?
No. Yes.
What?
Yes.
It's just so random.
All right. Well, I had one last one, but
This
I
is the
think
last one?
this is the last one.
Well, if
So,
Emily gets this, it's a tie.
you want to start with Emily then?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Emily,
think
she
so.
gets
She's
someone
on the
just call it,
comeback.
we'll see.
She's on the comeback trail.
This is the hardest one though, because this one came out. I
God.
love the way this one came out.
Oh boy.
Honor and glory. Compete with the most powerful clans in town for followers and employment opportunities. Rule and become a new singer from the Red City.
A new singer from the Red City. God, what would red be translated from?
Well, we can. Singer's not. Singer is a red herring. Speaking of red anything, I don't think Singer probably has anything to do with it.
You know a lot of board games.
I'm
about
going to be
the clan.
honest, it's hard because all I hear is Red City now, and I don't know what it is. I'm going to go with Dune Imperium.
It's not Dune Imperium. So David, you can cinch it if you know it. Otherwise, you just win 2 points.
This is a total random guess. Twilight Struggle.
It's not. It's Marrakesh.
Marrakesh.
It's Marrakesh. Honor and glory, competing for the most powerful clans in town, which is how they,
I guess.
whatever word that translated to, for followers and employment opportunities. I don't know about the singer. I don't know where that translation came from. Somewhere along
Gemma
the way.
Alfanar, there's entertainers down there. That's about all I can think. This is not like the Earth one.
No.
The Earth one
No,
you
no,
read
no.
back
I
and
said
we're
this
like,
one was the
okay.
hardest one.
That one is all, yeah.
All right, that's it. David gets it.
Congrats, David.
Thank you very much.
It was funny to see how some of them came out, but like the Earth one, I thought as soon as I said the word nature, that maybe you'd get that one.
No, it's because there's so many other red herrings. These things you hang on to the weirdest ones,
Yes.
which is not what you should do.
No.
But your brain is just like, what?
Well,
What does that even mean?
It's so
Yeah.
funny to me too to see which words remain the same and then which words came, like singer, for example, like, and some of the other ones, like Clank's description came out very weird,
Yes.
and The Witcher just had the word struggle at the end.
I love that.
Be
I
ready
wonder-
and be ready.
So this was the BGG description?
I took the key part of the BGG description and ran it
Okay,
through
I'm going to have
several
to look
different
back at
languages.
some of these. I'm thinking the Witcher one ends in fight or something like that.
Struggle.
No, it doesn't
Struggle.
actually.
No?
I think it ends in like for honor or something like that. So I have to go back and double check.
Well, anyway, that was this week's Player versus Player Lost in
Well
Translation.
done, David.
If you, yes, thank you. If you like that one, let us know down in the comments because we are going to be recycling some of our Player versus
Yeah,
Player
we'll bring back some of the favorite ones for
And
sure.
let us know if you like this. We have fun doing it, so hopefully you have fun watching it. But next, we're going to be talking about the games we've been playing. But before that, let's talk about Phantom Sleeves. If you play board games with cards and you want them protected, you should check out Phantom Sleeves. They're top-notch quality, easy to play with, and they care about your cards and the environment. Plus, Phantom Sleeves are made with board gamers in mind. The sheer variety of sizes and shapes is kind of crazy. So no matter what game you're playing, they most likely have the perfect sleeve.
And whether you want to see your cards crystal clear or avoid that annoying glare from the lights above your table, they've got you covered with both glossy and matte options. And if you're like, I just don't sleeve my cards, well, maybe you should stop and think for a second. Who's going to protect the dusky leaf monkey? Phantom sleeves. That's who.
So, Ryan, what have you been playing lately?
Yeah, well, I did something pretty special that I had a lot of fun with.
You play board games?
I did play some board games.
What?
For those who don't know, we're here in Indianapolis. The Indy 500 is a huge deal
That's
in
true.
Indiana.
Did that happen recently?
It happened last weekend. The Indianapolis 500 and the F1, the Monaco race, was
Recent?
that same day. That same day, that morning, was Monaco.
What?
Yeah, and the Indy 500 was that afternoon.
Oh,
I don't know
see,
anything about this.
it's big to some
So-
people, clearly not to this person.
So we had a lot of fun with it. We watched the race while we played Heat. We did our first official Heat tournament, which is where you play through multiple Heat maps, and there are these event cards. So we used everything Heat related, which made me so happy. We used the garage cards, the sponsor cards, the weather cards, the press boxes.
Nothing was missed? Everything was
Everything was in it.
Wow.
And then we used the event cards, which gave some crazy events to the map. And so we had 12 people playing the games. We split up into two groups, and we kind of weighted them and, seeded them out. So you're playing against, other people of the same skill as you went through the tournament. And then at the very end of the night, the last group, the top 6 players, got to play on a Monaco map, which we printed from BGG. Somebody fan-made a map that's actually Monaco, which is wild. It's all these tight turns. If you've ever watched the F1, like you have to slow down to like first gear.
Yeah, there's hairpin turns.
Yeah,
in
for
that,
some of you who know Heat, there were turns of speed limit 2, several in a row. So you had to like scoot across them, and it happened to be the 4th in our set of our tournament. And like I said, every single one of the maps has a special event. This one was if you spin out, you crash and you're eliminated from the game.
Oh.
So we're going around.
Everyone, this was like a tricycle
So
race.
we're going
Everyone was
around.
just like,
Of the 6 players, 3 of us spun out.
Oh my gosh. Did you
And
spin
you
out?
were one
I
of
was
them?
one of them. I thought I was safe. I was like, okay, if I boost, as long as I don't pull 4, I'll be fine.
Oh, Ryan.
Of course, I literally, like, out of my entire deck, I had 1 4 in there, and that's the card I pulled.
Oh.
So I spun out. 2 other people, like, I didn't feel so bad.
Sure.
So a couple other people spun out. But it was a very cool map. And it also kind of let me deep dive into the Heat community, and BGG is huge. There are a ton of fan-made maps. They even had the Indianapolis 500 map.
Oh, that's cool.
Where you have to, you could stop in the pit and get rid of all your heat and stuff. So
No.
it's very cool, very thematic. But that game held up. Like, we had a bunch of people playing. Most of us played 4 games in a row. And I was still loving it even by the end of that 4th game. Like,
How long
I was
did it
not
take?
tired. I mean, we were there for about six or 7 hours. I mean, a game of Heat's like an hour and a half.
Yeah. It's a lot of
Normally.
heat.
that is a lot of heat.
It is a lot
That's
of
a
heat.
struggle right there.
It is a lot of heat. And I believe that's why you said you couldn't show up that day. Because
I believe you were busy, David.
It's a lot of game. I don't even know what game would get me to play that long.
Witcher?
Maybe The Witcher. Is that a segue? Did you see everyone? It's a segue.
It wasn't meant to be, but I figured you were going to talk about it.
I am going to talk about The
What
Witcher. Are
else
you
are
done
you
talking about the Heat? Because this is going to be a minute.
All right, David.
So we played The Witcher. We haven't talked about this on Chit Chat, but we have talked about it on the channel.
Yeah.
So if you've seen any of that content, I apologize. I'm going to gush about the game again.
If you haven't seen it, go ahead and watch it.
No,
then you
do.
can just skip this part. and
Watch
come
all
to-
of these things. No, don't skip this part. This is the best part of tonight's episode of Chit Chat. No, played The Witcher. Ryan and I played it. I played it with Alicia. I'm trying to think if I played it again. I don't know, but I've wanted to play it again so
He's
desperately.
almost played it with me.
I almost played
It's
it.
true.
Emily,
taught
It's
me the
so
whole
close
game.
to playing.
Emily came over here earlier, and we were going to play one game and record a thing, and then we were going to play The Witcher because, I'm literally just want to play it. We didn't have time. Ryan was going to show up, and we were going to do this chit chat here, so we didn't have time for The Witcher. But then I proceeded to kind of explain The Witcher, just shy of completely teaching her.
We brought out components.
I
to
did.
show me
I literally.
how it
I
works.
was explaining the cards. I'm like, well,
Well,
here,
that's
just
funny,
hold
because
on.
I've seen David outside just showing components to people walking down the
do.
street.
I will tell you. You asked me in the comments below. I will show up at your doorstep and teach you The Witcher.
Oh, somebody from Alaska is going to ask you to come. You know what? If you'll pay his way, he'll come no matter where you are.
I don't know about that. Depends on where you live.
So what are you enjoying about it,
This
David?
is getting a little weird, but yes, I'm enjoying everything about it. This is a sandbox game that lets you do everything you'd expect from the Witcher experience. It's very narrative. You're moving from location to location, fighting monsters.
Yep. And witches.
I'm not so much witches. But the really interesting thing about the game is I think personally, and this is why I wanted to play with Emily, it mixes a really creative and clever gameplay, especially around the cards. I mean, the card play in this game is so much fun, and there's so many different things you can do with the cards, and the amount of cards in it make it really interesting on that end. And then someone who might like a campaign or a more narrative game, there's a ton of that too. When I played this with Alicia, I think one of my favorite parts ended up being, like, as much as I like the card play, literally just like, okay, yeah, you go to any one of the locations and you say, oh, I'll explore the wilderness or I'll explore a city. The other player or one of the other players at the table then reads you this simple sort of like, okay, here's the situation. This dark, creepy figure shows up. And then you usually have two options. And so many games do this, right? Yeah. So it's not like it's inventing something new. But for some reason, it's just so fun in this.
I feel you. And I think part of the reason is because, at least I've played multiple times, but only once with the final product. They've all felt impactful.
Yeah.
Like, and you actually sit there. There's been some where I remember one where it was like, do I want to fight or do I want to run away? Like, I had to really think about it.
You never really know.
Right.
You can't guarantee and go, oh, well, this one's obviously, if I pick this, I'll probably get some money. Now, with that said, you can guess at that at times.
Well, yeah, there was one guy that was like, he was going to take a bribe, or you could go do something else. Like, if you take the bribe, it's probably going to be money.
Right. But sometimes those can backfire on you too. Like, oh, he wants to take a bribe, but then he reveals himself to be some sort of like city official. And he's that's not an exact example, but you never know what's going to happen. And just letting yourself enjoy that
immersive experience.
Immersive choice is a lot of fun. Alicia really enjoyed that aspect.
Talk about the best part about that. Those encounter cards will sometimes give you quests.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because if you make a decision, it might say, okay, you're done. David, not to spoil anything, had a contract he could take. And he could choose to take it or not. And if he did take it, and they said, okay, go to this area to complete the contract. So then he had to go all the way across the board to complete this quest. And the quests are cool. They won't just give you more narrative, which they do, but they can also give you items and companions and powers and like things like that actually impact your game going forward, which is neat.
The other cool thing about this is if someone explained that to me and I didn't know anything about the game, I'd think, so that's why you're moving around the map? No. That is one of the things that inform why you want to move to this location or that. But every single turn you take starts with a phase where you're moving around the map, and each location is effectively an action that you can go and do a thing. So that's really what you're doing on your turn. So that quest becomes just another little carrot dangling where like, well, I wanted to go and do these actions, but oh man, I've got that quest and it's just here and I could go do the quest. You don't know what the quest is going to result in, but usually the quests are pretty good. There's basically generally slightly juicier versions of the encounter cards.
And we don't want to go on about this game
forever.
No,
we do want to go on.
I could because it's that fun. It really is that fun.
I'm excited to play it because like you guys are saying, my partner Brian really likes narrative-driven games, and I really like when it's where we have interesting gameplay or mechanics. And so it seems like this is marrying them. Plus, we've both seen The Witcher. We like the IP. So
that's why I wanted to play it with you, because I thought it would be the kind of game you're like, oh, this might work for me and Brian really well. So
yes. But I'm going to bring us back to our topic, which was legacy games, by talking about a game we've been playing recently, which is Clank Legacy.
Yeah. These two.
Yes, me, Ryan, and our friend Caitlin, we've been going through the campaign. And it's been a game. I have mixed feelings about it right now. I really enjoy the experience, right? Like I said, I think that spending a little time together is really fun. But this last one, I did well in, and I was like, okay, maybe we can make this come again. But 2 times ago, I died, and it was like two sittings in a row where I was like just feeling like I really couldn't get back into it. And I felt like, so it's doing some asymmetrical things. Like we have these like starting cards now that we get in our decks. And I felt a lot like the one that I had just wasn't up to snuff, like with what everybody else was using. And it got to a point where we were able to like redraw those or figure out if I wanted to change it out, but I still just felt like I'm starting from a negative.
Sure.
So it was an interesting thing because I really enjoyed the narrative. I really enjoy the fact that things are asymmetrical, but it's interesting because like in a regular game of Clank, you play one game, and sometimes if like the luck, you don't have the luck of the draw, it's no matter
Right.
who
If you
cares.
die,
just
if you die
a
in
game
a
of
game,
Clank.
right?
Exactly. But in this, I felt like I was significantly getting behind. Like I was substantially like, I'm not even really participating anymore. Like I can do so little in comparison to your moves that it's making me feel like, what am I doing here?
I mean, the one thing that Clank Legacy adds that isn't in Clank that might be missing from the picture, it's like an XP track almost. And like the better you do in a game, the more XP you get. And as you get more XP, you level up. And as you level up, you get some stickers to put on your cards. You get some new cards. You just get a lot of stuff that kind of helps you out right from the start. And so, yeah, if you're even maybe a level or even 2 levels behind the other players, and you get to see,
can start drifting back.
It can happen.
Well, and then when I died too, I got this card that was good in that it gave me some like symbols to start with, but it was negative 10 points if I had it at the end of the next game, and that is not something to laugh off. So I was like,
you got rid of it though.
I did get rid of it, but when I got it, I was so upset because I was like, I did so poorly this game, nothing happened, and now I have a negative
big
10
slap in the
points.
face.
Yeah, that's a hard thing to mitigate in Clank, because Clank is like that. Clank has some very great games and some very low games, and when they're not connected, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But when you're looking at your performance, and you're like, well, you don't look back at your last 3 games of Clank and say they were all terrible. But when it's Clank Legacy, you're like, I can see that my last 3 games are terrible.
Yes.
Because I'm not progressing as far as you guys are. And now I think there's some stuff that's gonna, as you play more, there's some stuff that helps catch up.
Halfway through.
We're about
maybe?
halfway through.
So we've gotten some reveals, but I mean, there's still more to come. So I'm holding out judgment. I felt a little bit better after last game, but I still was like...
I just like to get the story stuff. I just want to know. I want to get all the story stuff unlocked. So that's my thing.
I really enjoyed the narrative parts. And so the part that I was really having a hard time with was when I couldn't get enough movement to participate in it. So I was really just like watching the other players do the narrative. And I was saying too, I was like, if I had just like literally not played and was a bystander, I almost feel like I would enjoy it more because I really like the narrative. I like hearing it. I like hearing what's happening. But as a player, when I can't participate in it, it made me feel like I was missing out on my favorite part of the game, which was like the quest.
Well, and that's the thing. Like I love Clank Legacy. I think the world is fun, the story is fun, the way that the legacy elements interact is fun. But if they could have found a way to make that game even more cooperative, I think it would have been better because you could have really helped each other.
And the new one it's not fully cooperative, but it sounds like there's more cooperative elements.
They've promised in the new one that there will even be some scenarios, or some of the missions will be
fully cooperative.
Fully cooperative.
I like that, honestly. I really like that a lot because it feels... It's weird. It doesn't feel cooperative, but it feels like we're all trying to progress the same story together. I just wish some of it was cooperative.
Yeah, and this is one thing I said when we sat down to play Clank Legacy, and I think anybody that plays this game needs to have this conversation at the table, is like, how much of a jerk do you want to be to the players?
Sure.
Because I think the game is better and more fun when everyone is growing, and you're watching other people have cool moments and seeing how their character grows, not just your one character. And I'm never going to be that Clank player that's like, run in, run out, and just let everybody suffer.
You can in this game.
You can
just be
like in regular play.
Really?
That's it.
You could do that. You can run in, grab the cheapest artifact, run out, and trigger the game end.
Yeah.
But that's never been fun for me.
Yeah, and
even
I don't.
in regular Clank, I play to explore.
I would imagine that they would even address that, because even in Clank Catacombs, it feels like they've addressed that compared to base Clank.
Well, you can't run in and run out in Clank Catacombs.
In Catacombs, it forces you have to explore for a certain period of time before you can even do that.
Yeah, you can't trace that one path and go, all right, if I do this, 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 and this, I grab it and come back. Like
to some degree. I think that is something they probably have acknowledged as wanting to address.
I'm interested to see how they address all of this in Clank Legacy 2. And hopefully, by the end of Clank Legacy, you still want to play more Clank someday.
Hopefully.
Because Clank Legacy 2 does look like a lot of fun.
Yeah, that will be the big question. Will Emily play Clank Legacy 2 when it comes out?
Let's worry about getting through 1 first, and then we'll talk about 2.
I still want to try Clank Legacy 1, maybe with Alicia. Would you guys say that it would be good at 2 players? Emily, you were saying maybe 3?
I think 3 is probably best.
I think 3 is best. I think in 2 players, it becomes even more apparent if one player is having all the fun and the other player is not getting anything done.
That's true.
And it depends on which one of you.
You're going to feel it even more.
If it was you not getting anything done, I think you'd be fine.
Yes.
I'm fine. But if it's Alicia who's not getting anything done and I'm getting a lot done.
It's not fun being the one who's not getting anything done. I will tell you that. It's just not fun.
Well, speaking of getting things done, we're going to get done with this episode of Chit Chat. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Wow.
If you have any questions about anything we've talked about, or if you want to just join the conversation, get down there in the comments below, join our Discord, do all the things. Until next time, make sure everyone has fun at the table, and we'll see you then.